Welcome back to Unranked Podcast here. You have Elijah alongside Grant. We're going to hop into, just a little bit of finals talk. We have game 3 in a couple of hours here. Tip-off should be East Coast, 9 o'clock, I believe. So, it's going to be a good one. I really think this is going to be a high energy. I anticipate the crowd being fully fired up.
Yeah.
Seeing the shirts they're trying to pass out. We know what's at stake. So,
I'm fully
he's out of here. Yeah. I just hope they got the dub in the bag first, but
right.
I said it before, but I fully expect him not to make it out of both games. But that's a side note. Regardless, kind of this is where we're at. It seems to be a good one. Kind of like boxers, both teams felt each other out. Game 1, game 2.
Yep.
And then now we're switching venues here. So, I'm gonna throw it to you. Throw it your way. Kind of wanted to see what just where you want to take it. I think it's gonna be a good one though.
Yeah, no, I think this. I mean, what they say. A certain percentage of whoever wins game 3 ends up winning the series. So that's definitely on the line. I think also just, Boston stealing one in Golden State. Golden State got an opportunity to steal one there, ultimately to regain back full court or home court advantage. I know that crowd going to be going ballistic. I think it's the first time that they've had the finals in Boston since 20 last time they played the Lakers in the finals, if I'm not mistaken. We already know what Boston, they got some of the craziest fans. I heard that even after the Lakers lost to the Celtics a few years back, fans are outside throwing rocks at the buses, like cussing them out. Like they just super, super hostile environment. I do feel like Draymond, he gonna toe that. I think he's toed that line for about 2 or 3 games too many. So it might be, I think it'd be one of them things where he might do something where they might leave him in the game, but it might be like the finals of a few years back when he gets suspended after the fact, just because he's kind of just taking it to that level. I think he's also like 1 flagrant 2 away from a suspension and 2 flagrant 1s away from a suspension. So that's also something to kind of keep in mind.
Yep.
I think, been watching a couple of his press conferences and been, watching teams' press conferences, and a lot of this, you don't hear the trash talk quite there yet, but it's just starting to slowly kind of creep in, which I think is to the Warriors and Draymond's advantage. So they definitely think it's going to be a good game tonight as well.
Yeah, Draymond obviously he does it his whole career. He has done his whole career, but he has to walk that line. But I do think, I do think he does a pretty good job of doing it. The one time it's probably really cost them is in whatever finals versus LeBron and company when he was suspended. That's probably the highest states at which it cost him. So I don't know if he wants to do that again. I hope he doesn't get suspended. I say that kind of semi-jokingly. I just think he's going to come with the energy,
right,
and kind of set the tone. But I also think if they purposely try to antagonize him, that might be to their disadvantage, because I do think that plays to him. I've heard people say that Grant Williams should try to antagonize him a little bit. Marcus Smart should try to stay under his skin, but I think that's Draymond's game.
Yeah,
and I wonder if you. If you're poking a bear, more or less.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple of things going on here. You don't want to poke that bear. Curry showed that he's coming to play this time around.
Yep.
Poole's had a good game. So I want, when is Clay's game going to be? And who's gonna be the one to try to neutralize that crowd?
Right.
Because I think you can do it a couple of ways. Draymond just setting the tone in a defensive way and getting the rock and pushing it. That's one way, and then just being himself. Maybe turned up a little bit even because it's the finals. But him being himself, or one of them off guy, or not Curry, starting to heat up.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for Clay to have a game, and so I'm anticipating Warriors getting this done this time around, or this game. I think they lost one, so an eye for an eye. They're going to try to take this first one here.
Yeah.
And then if either way, obviously you said it, but the momentum is extremely in their way, because then you give it your all game 4. and you should plan to win that and go for it. But if not, you're going back home for 2 games.
Right.
I believe so. Yeah, that's how that would work out. You go back home, and then you can try to get it done that way. So I think they're probably want to go out and get it done this game 1 on the road, and then they always seem to try to I feel like throughout the playoffs, if you watch them, they've taken games off and just got the brakes beat off of them from time to time. So, to be honest, that's kind of my prediction. I think they're going to go get it done this game, probably get the brakes beat off of them, and then go back to Golden State.
Yeah. I do agree with just you were saying as far as like somebody else got to get going besides Steph, because like, I mean, he just ain't gonna be enough. Like, as far as like sustaining that energy the entire game or trying to do so. We already talked about how he pretty much sits out the entire like half of the second quarter, so you got to expect, Jordan Poole to, I think he got to come out and just be super aggressive like he was last time. I'd like to see, obviously the threes was going down, but like that environment is going to be, people are going to be like, they're literally against everybody with a Golden State uniform on. So, hopefully you can, start to get to the cup, draw fouls, get to the free throw line. It's got to put pressure on defense. And their biggest thing is just turnovers. And they had the same issue that Boston do in a sense. Like they just, start getting kind of pretty with the ball, trying to push it a little too fast, overshooting people that are open, getting into the paint, too deep in there without, trying to pass out of it last second and throwing the ball away. You're just gonna. I mean, it's really gonna be had to be like a huge. They're gonna be like a group effort, like Celtics did game 1, just from like role players. You like for Poole to have 15 to 17 off the bench, or Otto Porter, to step in and hit a couple. I mean, he don't need 6 or 7. You get 6 or 7 from Otto Porter Jr. I mean, that's that's really good.
Agreed. So that's my fault.
No, I was just saying overall, I think that's just kind of like their keys is, they just need more of a supporting cast. And, Clay going to end up shooting out of this slump eventually. But it's one of the things where they, you still going to need other people to step in and, help shoulder that load.
The supporting cast being Poole, Porter, Wiggins.
Even Looney. You can
Green and Bielitsa, right?
Yeah.
Those 4 guys have to get you 10 threes.
Yep.
Yeah. Those 4 guys get you 10 threes. Curry comes in with his 3 of 6.
Yep.
And then everything else goes as semi-planned. I think you get one in the bag. But those guys have to come out and shoot. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Bielitsa. To be honest with you, I think he's one of the biggest liabilities I've seen on defense. But he does stretch it for him good on offense. So when they're rolling and he comes in, it's good basketball. But when he comes in and he just gets picked on defense, they got to get him out quicker. But he's one of them, high risk, high reward things. He's similar to I'm draw a blank on his name, but the big ass dude from the Mavericks that all he does is come in and shoot threes.
Kleba.
No, another dude, a big beard guy. Anyways.
Bertans.
Yeah, he's like him basically. He's gonna come in. He's they want 3 threes in the first 2 minutes, and if you hit one of them, you can stay on the court. And if not, I don't think you should see the floor the rest of the night. But I think between those four guys, you got to look somewhere around the 10-3 mark.
Yep.
And just playmaking. As far as Draymond stretching, being a playmaker, Poole not being selfish. I think from time to time you notice that he wants to start cooking and he maybe hurts the team a little bit. But he didn't do that much in game 2. I mean, obviously he was taking a shot, but he was making the right pass. He was driving. He was, like you said, similar to Curry, not falling in love with the 3.
Right. But some of the shots he was hitting, like.
Hey, that one was reminiscent of Sweet 16.
Yep.
Damn near the same spot.
Yeah. Yeah. He can't bank on those falling. But like he was getting, it was pretty impressive to see him get rolling like that last game. But yeah, I think and we can even, kind of look at on the flip side, what the Celtics need to do to even, come out on top. I mean, I think what's interesting about them is you watch them beat the Warriors by 12 and Tatum only had 12. Mm-hmm. And then he goes for 28, 29, and they lose by 25. So it's like, I mean, I look at them and I mean, I think they just got to really eliminate turnovers. He had like 7. I said a couple times on Sunday, he had like 7 by himself.
For sure. Real quick, and you can keep going. With that 12, I think that came with like 10, 12 assists. Yeah. So that, when you consider every, he's like half of those assists were probably to White for a 3 or something like that. So when you consider how he was, Horford, he was draining them. But when you consider how he was a playmaker, I mean, obviously he would want to be somewhere in the 20-point ballpark range. I'm sure he would have rather had 20 and 9 assists, but but he got the dub, and ultimately that's what matters. So I think I agree with you that.
So I just like, to me, it's more like it's more like fluke. You know what I'm saying? Because like, he ended up with 9 assists. They probably lose that game instead of like 13. I mean, that I'm sure like his assist average probably like 4 or 5 a game or something. That just makes it even more crazier, to see that number so high like that. And it's interesting because Marcus Smart had been playing very well. I think him and Horford combined for like 4 points last game, which is nuts. So definitely, gonna need a little bit more out of them. Jaylen Brown started off with 13 points and finished with 17. like I think he had like 13 in the first quarter. So like they, I mean, I think we said it, before the series started. I mean, Boston, they're gonna lose this game. I feel like, I do feel like it's close, but I think they're just a smidge like that better team. They look like that better team sometimes, but they also put themselves in really bad spots to where it's like, they just either, can't get shots to go or they just keep turning the ball over. To where Golden State's like they've been here before, they can kind of work through turnovers because they're going to be tight in other areas. Like Boston just can't, like when they fall apart like they did in game 2, like that, it's just gonna be a recipe for disaster. So I just think for them, it's trying to just like play defense, don't turn the ball over. I think that's really, what their winning formula is for tonight. And then also just throw this in there as like a funny little nugget. Scott Foster is officiating, and they said that the Celtics are like 15-0. I think in the playoffs when he's officiating. And the only reason why I say that, because I mean, they could definitely lose tonight, but I think it's funny because Chris Paul is like 0-13 in the playoffs when Scott Foster's officiating. So I don't know, it's just something that's kind of thrown out there for fun.
That is interesting.
Because you already know the league, they're going to try to, I mean, it's 1-1 right now. So you assume whoever win tonight, they're going to do what they can to make sure, the other team wins game 4, just to at least guarantee 6 games. So it'll, like you said, I think all around could be some pretty high level basketball being played.
Yeah, I think so. I admittedly have not watched the Boston Celtics a ton like throughout the year. I know they started to heat up, and they, obviously they got some very formidable players, and their coach seems phenomenal as well. But I'd say all that to say I have not watched a lot of them. So it was interesting in game 1 to see just how hot they got in the fourth quarter, because any team gets that hot, they're beating anybody on the court that night. I mean, who hits 9 threes in a quarter. But it was, so I'm interested to see if those players can, I mean, we've all watched Al Horford. We know him very well, right from a rival neighbor community of ours. But when his last, I mean, has he ever hit 6 threes in a game before? So it's one of those things where it's like, I know he's good, but he's not that good. So that was a game of his life potentially. And, it'll be interesting to see if they could even reminisce something along those lines. Can obviously Jaylen Brown has probably been the most consistent offensively for them. But I think their winning recipe is him being the number 2 in Tatum. So, like you said, Tatum, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if Tatum goes off again for something in the 20s, 30 range, and they lose. Then I think that might be playing into the Warriors, basket there, where they kind of want him to do that stuff.
Right.
So that's interesting. I mean, they even they're kind of showing that, like, because they're letting Curry guard Tatum. If you watch in that game, they were letting Tatum, kept posting them up, and it was for whatever reason, fumbling it or dropping it. And that's still that might be kind of their game plan, is to allow, we want you to drop 40, and then we're going to hold the rest of the team to 40.
Yeah.
And, so it will be interesting to see if they really force the issue, or if he kind of is to be more of a facilitator, playmaker, and just really pick his poison and when he can, get some shots. Because obviously he needs to get it rolling for them to be successful. But this might be more of him just trying to be a playmaker for them. That might be their best recipe because it seems like they want him to have the ball in his hands and go for it. That seems to kind of be their game plan.
Yeah, it's crazy because like I said earlier, he go double game one, don't really shoot that well, and then turn around and almost go for 30 and they lose by 25. Like, so it's yeah. I mean, I think it's literally for both teams. That's how it always works, right? You just need role players to step in, somebody get in foul trouble. You need somebody that had a game of their lives. Off the bench, 8th, 9th man, just be able to step in and contribute. But yeah, all in all, I think it'll be a really good game tonight.
So that's your side note with the referee. I mean, that's extremely interesting. I think I did call the Warriors to win. I still think they're going to get it done overall. But I mean, Boston is one of them places. I mean, I just put it out there that I wouldn't feel comfortable if, as a fan going, if the Pistons in the same scenario, I wouldn't feel comfortable winning in Boston.
Yeah.
That's Duke territory. That's Ohio State territory, as far as I'm concerned. As far as hostile and a little home cooking. Maybe it's not a coincidence that the guy that they're undefeated with happens to be their first game at home. So that's interesting. And as much as I love the NBA, I do think they are some sort of an entertainment business. It should be interesting. But they can't control they can control some of the narrative as far as foul trouble and stuff, but they can't control that ball going in.
And with the shortest time possible between the drafts, the finals and the draft ending, they want to get to June 19th. We're very aware that that's like.
Yeah, and I can see what they're doing. I mean, I'm not gonna say too much on it, but a Game 7 on Juneteenth probably is something that they want. So
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I literally just thought of that. But yeah, that could be something that they want for sure. That's coincidental.
Right.
So, but no, either way, I think it's gonna be a good one, and it's just exciting to see some of the new blood. I mean, the East is loaded, and as a Pistons fan and seeing us, I'm slightly nervous. Giannis in our own division. You got Boston here to stay for a while. Trae Young cooking down there. Miami seems to always put together something. It's a lot of teams. Charlotte could be exciting. Could be win a series or two next year, maybe even. So
yeah, it's a lot of teams in there that like
and question mark Nets.
Sixers, like there's a lot of teams in there where like you say like the Nets or in knock on wood because you don't want this to happen, but like say the Nets or like the Sixers or like one of them big time teams get one injury, that would just leave the door open for like a Hornets or Cleveland that's starting to kind of find their footing to just kind of slide in there and they could turn into a 4 or 5 seed just off of something like that fluke. You got these teams. I mean, obviously with the play-in too, that makes it to where it's like it's even deeper. So you got to be in that. First it was like being in that top 8. It does kind of benefit some of like the bottom feeder teams, but like I mean it's still just going to be a challenge. Like trying to get in there. Like as a 10 seed, you got to win twice.
Right.
Like you got to just things like that. So yeah, I mean, you think Boston? I'm sure they're well aware of that. Looking to capitalize just because of how tough that the conference is, and I mean, you could even say the same thing for the Warriors. I mean, you had the Clippers, where they didn't have 2 of their best players, one of the best players the whole season, the other best player for like they only had him for like 35 games, 35, 40 games, something like that, maybe even less. Lakers look horrible. Got Phoenix, like we don't know what they're gonna come. What they're gonna be next year, just because of what happens with Ayton. But Memphis, I mean, they, I could definitely see them just blowing up, being a 1 seed. Don't gotta worry about Utah; they're trash. But there's Minnesota. You got a lot of other teams on both ends that obviously the goal is win a chip every year, just because of how everybody's getting better around everybody at all times. So yeah, but yeah, I wanted to just ask. I think I've seen a lot of talk about Tatum just being a superstar, not being a superstar. 24 years old, been in the league 6 years already, which is nuts to even say. Funny that he actually idolizes Kobe, and that's like, the Celtics rival. I mean, where do you kind of see him? In first team All NBA this year. Where do you kind of see him going, and what are your thoughts on just how he's kind of progressed?
No, so I would obviously labels superstar or star is like all very subjective, but I mean I would say he no doubt. I mean I think he's proven that he's a first, second team all I'm tripping on the name, all NBA.
Yep.
So through and through. His game is set. He really. I mean, it sounds crazy to say this, but yeah, he does have Kobe-esque game as far as like
Yep.
his placements on the court and how he maneuvers, and he mimicked them off of Kobe's game. So and that game's gonna work forever as far as that mid-7 or mid-6 foot something guy with phenomenal handles, phenomenal jumper. I mean, Boston's here to stay for a while in general. So with him being the anchor, that a great young coach, and a good supporting cast. So I think he's definitely a superstar. And I'm trying to pull his stats up right here, but I mean, I think he's damn near been 20 points a game since he came in the league. So I mean, he's a bucket.
I think now it's accomplishments time. You know what I'm saying? Like I think, you look at like good examples of this like recently are like Trae Young and Luka. They like you in the league, it's kind of cute and all, been in the league 2-3 years and kind of like, doing your thing. But then now it's like, the media and everybody's like, all right, like, where's the playoff runs? Where's the, conference championships? Like, ring by 25, 26. It's like, when do we start, doing that time, throwing that timer on for this player or that player? So I just think for him, already he's in a good spot. He's been in the league almost 6 years already. If not, I think this might have been his 6th year. Like I said, he's 24, already all NBA, multi-time all-star, been in the conference finals quite a few times, first time in the finals. He's definitely on to a good start. But I think now it's like, all that, but all those other things like all-star, all NBA, like that stuff is, it's still great to get that stuff. But now it's going to be like, all right, like, when you going to start putting multiple rings away? That's just like, I think, that's what the media will try to focus on more than a lot of other things.
I was going to say, so the measuring stick is a championship.
Yeah.
Jordan, LeBron, I don't want to say Bird, whoever Magic, that's the measuring stick. Isaiah Thomas, how many championships do you have?
Yep.
And especially for that franchise. That franchise is a championship franchise. Somebody like Paul Pierce would not even have a smidget of the respect he currently has if they didn't get that championship at the end.
Right.
Regardless of how good he was.
Yep.
So I look at it from that point of view. So when you play for the Lakers, when you play for the Celtics, especially those two franchises, it's the measuring stick is championships.
Yep.
And so I think that has to be his goal, and he's making the natural progression. Like you said, going to Eastern Conference Championship, amazing.
Yep.
And his first, second, third year he did that.
Deep playoff runs.
Yes. Did it again this year, got to the finals. Now, like you said, if they mess around and lose, then it's can he get done?
Right.
He had a game where he had 12 points. I feel
like it's like okay, it's okay, but it's like
don't do it again.
Now next year you only get the second round. It's like what happened? Right. Like or you guys get knocked out in the first round. Have a bad season. It's like, well, you guys are just in the finals. Like what's going on? Like that's the narrative that starts to get created. Throughout the summer.
Yeah, and then you look at somebody like a Giannis, got it done last year.
Yep.
Monkey off his back. He got it done. Nobody's really talking about how he got bounced in the second round this year.
Right.
Not really being talked about.
Yeah. So he had it even tougher because he had 2 MVPs. So he was really like, like, all right,
and those are the next measuring stick. Obviously MVPs count as well, where you just the best player of the league. Yep. And I would say I would have picked him over. I just don't, I don't trust the Jokic thing. That doesn't make sense to me. You got to be, like you said, the measuring stick is winning, and and he's not, somebody's at home. They've been there for a while, so So it's just, I do think he's a superstar, but I think when you begin, that's one thing. Allen Iverson was a superstar, but he don't got a ring. So begin to separate it even further from a superstar, then to are you going to be in some sort of past that is legend, Hall of Famer, Mount Rushmore conversation types, and that happens with the championship. But superstar level, I would feel comfortable that he's there.
Yeah. I think just to kind of put a button on the conversation overall or this episode, people thinking Steph needs a Finals MVP to solidify his career. And that's something that's crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm.
That he never has had one, and I think he's already best shooter all time, up there as probably like top 5, top 8 best point guards. For me, it don't really like. It ain't really phasing me as far as how I feel about him. But why do you think that Finals MVP? Like, what's that? Because I think like his Finals MVP, it ain't like some people probably look at it like we talk about the bus driver ride the bus in a sense. But I always felt like, he's just he's done his thing and he's kind of been. I don't think Iguodala should have got that one year.
No,
that was insane to me. So they to me, it's more like they messed it up, not him not playing well.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he doesn't need one because he has so many championships. But I would say it would be like a missing puzzle piece potentially. I think just to have the full immaculate picture, the full mantle, MVP, rookie of the year, whatever, whatever, Finals MVP. I think they had a full mantle of all of them up there, put you in, like I said, just a different category. One of those. I want to say he kind of really does deserve it. As far as like he got snubbed a couple of times. Whether him or KD they could have probably split them. Gave one to each, but I don't know. So I would say it's one of the things which is very nice addition to the trophy. Yeah. So but I don't see it happening. But if they get a 4th ring and he doesn't have one, who's gonna really talk about it?
Right.
Yeah. But I do think it's one of those just to fully complete the puzzle. I think he should. You would want it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll, like you said, it'd be a good little icing on the, cherry on top, icing on the cake. Like I said, I want him to have it just so First Take can't talk about all summer how, he ain't who he is because he didn't get one.
Yeah, how to give him Looney or something.
Right. Yeah, but I think it's already. They win the series. He's gonna definitely get it because he been the only one really carrying the offense as of right now too.
Yeah, I'm talking shit this time.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. Like this one is like I said, he should have been got the one that Iguodala got. That should have. We ain't gotta get into that today as far as just, but I do feel like this is gonna be the one that he'll it'll be well deserved. So
for sure.
Yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, sir. Game in a couple hours. We'll be back at you this weekend.
Yep.
Sir. Peace.